Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for our presentation on the college admissions and placement testing. I will go ahead and get started. My name is Shelby Nielsen. I am the college career facilitator at BF Terry High School in LCISD. This is my 19th or 20th year in education, and about my 10th year in college admissions advising for high school students. So we will get started. So our presentation tonight is going to go over college admissions and placement testing. There is a difference between college admissions and college placement testing. College admissions testing are tests that you take in order to be admitted to the college or university. Typically, our college admissions testing is the ACT and the SAT. Those are our two admissions exams. Due to COVID-19 and testing issues, a lot of our universities have implemented a test optional admissions policy. There are still about 2,000 colleges in the United States that have test optional admissions policy for the students that were in the class of 2020, 2021, 22, and 23. We will not know what the test optional admissions policies for the class of 24 or 25 are going to be. Class of 24, we will learn the admissions requirements for the class of 24 in the spring. But as of right now, for our students who are class of 23, most of the universities that our students are applying to are going to have optional admissions. But again, for the class of 24, we will learn that in the spring. And for the class of 25, it'll depend on what they say for the class of 24. So admissions testing are tests that you take in order to be admitted to the university, which is your SAT and your ACT. You can view test optional universities through a organization called fairtest.org. Fairtest.org is up to date and lists all of the colleges across the U.S. who have a test optional admissions policy and what that admissions policy is. It may be that students in a specific class rank or a specific GPA can turn in test optional, and students outside of that GPA or class rank have to have test scores. Every school is different, and fairtest.org has already gone through all of the different admissions criteria and put it in one place for you to find. So this is a great resource for families to use if they're wanting to learn if a college is test optional or not. Again, college admissions testing is the SAT and the ACT to get into the university. The SAT and ACT can also be used for placement purposes as well. In the state of Texas, a student must be able to place into a college level course. To place into a college level course, the student must meet certain criteria on the SAT or on the ACT. If the student does not meet this criteria on the SAT or the ACT, then the student has to take what is called the TSIA-2. The TSIA-2 is the State of Texas Placement Exam. So if a student scores high enough on the SAT or the ACT, then that student is exempt from the TSIA-2. If the student does not score high enough on the SAT or the ACT, then the student is not exempt from the TSIA-2 and has to take that exam to meet certain college level standards. If the student has taken the TSIA-2 multiple times and has not met the college level standards on the TSIA-2, then the student would need to take what's called pre-college level courses before the student is able to take the college level course. So a student's college level readiness has nothing to do with their admissions. The student can take the SAT or ACT, can send the SAT or ACT scores to the college. The student may not have met college level standards on the SAT or the ACT, but the student can still get accepted to that college or university. However, in order to enroll in a college level course, the student either needs to continue to take the SAT or ACT, or the student has to take the TSI-A2. So the SAT versus the ACT. The biggest difference between the SAT and the ACT are the sections and what those sections test. The SAT is what we tell students is kind of it predicts what you can learn. So if you all are somewhere around my age in your 30s to 50s, you're going to remember that we had these SAT words when we were growing up. We still have SAT words. So the SAT kind of predicts what you can learn, and the ACT is an exam, and it tests over the standard American curriculum. So if you noticed on the first page, the name of the ACT is the American College Test. The name of the SAT is the Scholastic Aptitude Test. So the ACT tests the students over what they have learned, and the SAT kind of predicts what the student can learn, right? What is their aptitude? So the type of questions and how the questions are written are one of the biggest difference. And then the number of sections. So the SAT has two main sections: an evidence-based reading and writing section, and then a math section. The ACT has the English, has the reading, has math, and has science. It also has an optional essay. You'll notice on the SAT it says essay, but let's mark that off because actually they got rid of the essay when COVID hit. So I need to take this off. So there is no essay for the SAT. The ACT does still have the optional essay that students can write. When the SAT got rid of their essay, most colleges stopped requiring the ACT essay. So the student can choose whether or not they take the essay. It's completely up to them. But since the SAT does not have an essay section, really don't have to do the ACT essay section. It is an extra fee to take the essay section on the ACT. So if you don't want to pay the extra fee, totally understand. You don't have to pay the extra fee. So that's your main differences. The SAT predicts what you can learn, and then the ACT tests you over what you have learned. Then you have the evidence-based reading and writing section and the math section on the SAT. And then on the ACT, you have the 4 sections: English, reading, math, and science. The science section is the section that students typically get the most nervous about on the ACT. The science section is not, do you have all these chemical equations memorized? Do you have all of the different parts of a frog memorized? Do you know all the different body parts and the cell parts and all of these things from biology? The science section is more of, here's a scientific diagram or a chart or something like that. Can you read this diagram, and can you come up with the correct answer based on the information given you? Can you come up with the best scientific answer? So it's not, do you have all of this science stuff memorized? It's, can you review the scientific information that's given to you and come up with the best answer? So those are going to be, that's basically what the science is over. So you can see that on the screen, it says the test styles for the SAT questions are evidence and content based in an effort to focus on real world situations and multi-step problem solving. ACT straightforward questions may be long, but are usually less difficult to decipher. The scoring is also different. So on the SAT, you have a max score of a 1600, an 800 on the evidence-based reading and writing, and an 800 on the math. That's the highest scores that you can get, so a highest of 18. And then on the ACT, you get a 1 to a 36 on each individual section. So on the math, on the science, on the reading, and the English, on those 4 sections, you'll get up to a 36. Then they take the average, which is your composite, which gives you your overall score. So that's the scoring is fairly different on the 2 exams, on how it is. So national average for the class of 21, we have not seen the class of 22 national average yet, but the national average for the class of 21 on the SAT was a 1060, and the national average on the ACT was a 19. So those are about the national averages. So if a student is scoring above the 1060, then they are above national average. Most of our students are like, oh my goodness, I did not get a 1200. That's 1200 is a pretty high score. So it's okay if you didn't get a 1200. National average is a 1060 or a 19. Students can choose to send their scores to colleges or not send their scores to colleges. We recommend that students send all scores to colleges or universities. One, because even for the most part, if the student sends the scores and then decides they're applying test optional, if they mark they're applying test optional in the application, then the university is not going to look at them. In the state of Texas, students have to send those test scores so that they can be marked college level ready. So in the application, if the student says, I'm applying without scores, then the college isn't going to look at them. Once the student has been admitted to the college, then the college will go and pull those scores into the student's account to mark them college level ready. Some colleges are test optional and some colleges are really test preferred. It just depends on the university. And so it's important to know what the difference is for each school that your student is looking at. And so it's imperative that our students are speaking with their college reps so that they can get the information directly from that college and university. Are you test optional? Are you test preferred? Are you test blind? So there's all kinds of different rules for different schools. So it's important for the kids to know themselves and to know where they are. Difficulty levels, difference questions on the SAT. Questions increase in difficulty as you move through the questions. And then for the ACT, difficulty levels are completely random throughout the test. In the math on the SAT, you're going to have problem solving, data analysis, algebra, geometry, a little trig. Formulas are provided on the SAT. On the ACT, you have Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, functions, geometry, and trig, but the student is not provided with the formula chart on the ACT. And that's going to be the biggest difference is the SAT has a section for math with no calculator and a section with a calculator. The ACT, the student can always use the calculator. The SAT, they get the formulas. The ACT, they don't. So that's going to be the biggest 2 differences. Most popular colleges do not care which test you take. They only care which test you do better on. We tell our students every single day to take both. It's very important that students take both. Students are typically naturally better at one test than they are the other. The student will not know which test they are better at until they have taken both exams. So it's really important that students take both. A college does not prefer the SAT over the ACT or prefer the ACT over the SAT. That does not exist. It is whichever one the student is better at, that's the one that the student should focus their attention on, whichever one they are better at. In LCISD, all juniors take SAT school day for free. So we do offer all juniors one time to take the SAT for free. Unfortunately, we do not offer ACT school day for our students for free. What I recommend for the junior class, so if your student is class of 23, class of 24, this is what the recommended timeline would be. take the ACT in February. That is the next ACT that a student can register for. The students for the ACT in February do have to register themselves. We do not register students for the ACT ever. They have to register themselves. They go to ACT.org, complete the registration process, take the February ACT. Then all LCISD juniors will take SAT school day. And when they take SAT school day in March, we will register them for that. So the student does not need to register themselves for the SAT. We take care of that for the kid. So they'll take the ACT in February. Then they take the SAT in March. They will have their test scores back by the end of March. After we get back from spring break, they will have both sets of test scores back. Bring the test scores to me, or if you're at another campus, your CCF, bring the test scores to us and we will compare your scores. And you can see the comparison chart on the screen. We will say, okay, you did better on this test. So if the student scored a 25 on the ACT, but an 1170 on the SAT, we would say, okay, your 25 on your ACT is higher than the 1170 you got on the SAT. And at that point, we would say, we recommend that you focus all your attention on the ACT because that is the one that you were naturally better at. That is the one that you have the higher score on. Focus your attention on the exam that you have the greatest skill set. So that is our recommendation. So students should take both. So if you're a junior, so sophomore parents, if we have sophomore parents with us tonight, sophomore parents, this will be February of your student's junior year. So in February, take the ACT. This year, it is February 11th, 2023. The regular registration deadline is somewhere around January 6th, January 8th. It's on another slide. The late registration deadline, somewhere around January 20th. So register for the February ACT. Then you will have the March SAT, March school day SAT. Have your scores back. Bring your scores to your college advisor at your high school. Say, which one did I do better at? Whichever one you done better on, you spend 2 months studying and you retest in June. If the student would like to take that test a third time, they can. That is totally fine. They can test again in the summer. The ACT is offered in July. The SAT is offered in August, and then the ACT is offered in September. So they can take it a third time if they want. We do not typically recommend students take any test more than 3 times. Not because it looks bad, but after the third time, test scores typically start to either plateau or go down because the student has stressed themselves out too much on that testing. So third time's the charm is what we typically tell students. So the last regular registration date is January 6th for the February ACT, and then the late registration is January 20th. If a student qualifies for the federal free or reduced lunch program, then the student qualifies for an ACT registration fee waiver. Students can receive up to 4 ACT registration fee waivers. The student will only be given one at a time. The student has to qualify for the federal free or reduced lunch program in order to receive that registration fee waiver. Students who attend a Title I campus all receive free lunch. Everyone at that Title I campus receives free lunch, but that does not mean that every single student is eligible for the federal free or reduced lunch program. In order for us to provide a student with a registration fee waiver or a college application fee waiver, the student has to be enrolled in the federal free or reduced lunch program. So for our Title I campus parents, it's very important that you do the CEP form. If your student brought that home to you, please make sure you fill it out. And for our non-Title I campuses, there is the free and reduced lunch application that you would fill out through the School Cafe app. So make sure that if you think your student qualifies for free lunch based on the family income, that we get those documents turned in so that the campus can give your student the fee waiver to register. The last day to register using a fee waiver is always going to be that late registration deadline. So the late registration deadline right here is the last day that students can register for free when using a fee waiver. The SAT, the SAT school day, which will be March 1st, 2023, is free for all students. Whether you qualify for free lunch or not, it is a free test for all students. The district pays for that. If a student wants to take a Saturday SAT, then if the student was on free reduced lunch at the time that they took the PSAT, we have already marked their College Board account eligible for the SAT registration fee waiver. So if your student was on free lunch at the time of the PSAT during their junior year, we've already marked that they are eligible for that fee waiver. So then all they would need to do is log into their College Board account and they can register for free. The student does not need to see their college advisor in order to get an SAT registration fee waiver because that step has already been taken care of by the high school campus. The student only needs to request the ACT fee waiver. If the student attends Terry High School, then they can scan this QR code, or they can come see Miss Nilsson in the CCMR Center. When a student registers for the SAT and the ACT for Saturday testing, the student has to upload their photo by the photo upload deadline, or their registration will be canceled by the testing organization. Both the SAT and the ACT require the student to upload a picture. It has to be just of their pet face. I tell them to think passport photo. So they have to upload their picture by the upload deadline, or it will be canceled. And so a lot of kids forget to upload it. So it's best practice if they upload it when they register for the test, but you don't actually have to. You just have to have it uploaded by that registration deadline. Then on test day, the student must have a photo ID. It can be their driver's license, their passport, a state issued ID, or their current school year photo ID from the school. So for us, the smart tags with their picture, but they have to have a photo ID or they will not be allowed in the testing center. And they have to have their admissions ticket that they've printed off from their computer. So you have to upload the picture, they have to print their admissions ticket, and they have to have the photo ID with them to be allowed into the testing center. Again, if a student is doing Saturday testing, that student is registering themselves through the testing organization website. The testing organization's websites are act.org and collegeboard.org. Two separate entities ran by two different organizations. When sending test scores, if the student registered for the exam using a fee waiver, then they receive free test score sends. So if your student qualifies, it's really important to make sure that they register with that fee waiver. That way they can send their scores for free. If you do not send your scores for free, or you do not register with the fee waiver, then you have to pay $12 per school for the SAT and $13 per school for the ACT. So that is, if you're applying to 5 schools, 5 times 12 is 60. That's $60 to send test scores. So it can add up. When the student registers, so if the student does have to pay for the test, when they register, then they can actually pick up to 5 schools to send their test scores up to for free. So it's really important that when they register for the test, they pick those 5 schools as soon as they register. 4 schools as soon as they register, so that they're not paying that fee to send those scores. They have up to 9 days after they take the test to send those scores. So the ACT is $63 for the multiple choice section. It's $88 if you do the writing. So you don't have to do the writing if you don't want to. So it's $63 to register for the ACT. Again, if a student qualifies for free or reduced lunch, then they can come and get a fee waiver to register, and it'll waive that cost. When a student registers with an ACT fee waiver, they receive a $100 practice program completely for free. We highly recommend that they use this practice program. It's a really good program, so practice in there. Then the SAT is $60 for the SAT. Remember, there is no writing. Students get the free SAT school day exam in March of junior year. Then if they qualify for the federal free or reduced lunch program, they can take the SAT 2 more times for free. Again, if they qualified for free lunch when they took the PSAT during junior year, we've already put their fee waivers in their account. They don't need to come to us to ask us for fee waivers for their SAT. All students receive free practice program through the Khan Academy for SAT. So everyone gets free practice through Khan Academy for the SAT. For our sophomore and junior parents that are in attendance, your students' PSAT scores from October are already in their College Board account. We strongly recommend that those students go and log in. If they've never created an account before, they will need to create the account first. They need to use their personal email address, not their school email. Use your personal email to create your account. If you think you could possibly at some point in time created an account, go through the I forgot how to log into my account process through the College Board website, because we do not want students making 2 accounts. 2 College Board accounts are bad. We do not want a student to have 2 accounts. So if they think they could have potentially made one last year, they need to figure out how to log into that and not make a new account. So now if they know they've never made an account before, then they can go and create that new account. But they can go ahead and they can go see those October 2022 PSAT scores. They can link their Khan Academy account to their College Board account. It'll analyze those PSAT scores, give them a personalized practice program that they can use to help build their test scores up. College Board says if a student spends roughly 20 hours practicing in Khan Academy for the SAT, they will see an increase of at least 100 points on their SAT. Through our Ranger Time courses, our students who have already completed all of their EOC requirements should be actually working in Khan Academy just about every single day. So if your students met standards on their EOCs that they've already taken, they should actually already be working in Khan Academy on their SAT preparations. So hopefully that they're doing that. So our final thoughts on the SAT and ACT: colleges don't care which test you take. They care which test you do better on. Students are typically naturally better at one test than they are the other. A student is not going to know which test they're better at until they have taken both tests. The name of the test isn't important. It's how the student does. We talked about preparing for the test. So if your student receives any sort of accommodations through the testing, through LCISD, the student can receive accommodations for the SAT and ACT. For SAT school day, PSAT, those accommodations are automatically put in place by the campus testing coordinator. That is what they do. If you are doing Saturday testing, the campus coordinator is also who inputs those for your Saturday testing. It's important that if your student is wanting to do Saturday testing, that they register for the exam well in advance, because we have deadlines that those paperworks have to be complete. So our submission deadline for the ACT, if a student is wanting to take the February ACT, the submission deadline for us to get everything turned in for that student is the last day to register. So if a student waits until the last day to register, then the student's not going to get those accommodations, because we have to have our stuff uploaded by that date. And there's no way for us to know, because it takes 3 or 4 days for the information to get to the testing coordinator. So if a student receives accommodation, extended time, large font, They get to have a snack, whatever the accommodation is. If a student receives accommodations and you want those accommodations put in place for SAT or ACT testing, the student needs to register for that exam at least 2 months in advance. Okay. And then you need to get with the testing coordinator and make sure everything is put into place for that test date. Because if you wait until the last minute, we cannot guarantee that a student's going to receive those accommodations on the testing if the student waits too long to register for the test. So the SAT and the ACT both have submission deadlines that the campus has to have documents turned in. So if the student waits too late to register, there's nothing we can do. We cannot help them if it's past that deadline. So the students need to make sure that they're taking care of their business and getting registered early, and then reaching out to the campus testing coordinator so to make sure that those accommodations are put in place. All right, so we will go quickly because it is 7 o'clock. So the TSIA2 is the State of Texas College Placement Test. A student has to take the TSIA2 in order to take a college level course if the student did not do well enough on the SAT or ACT. The SAT college level ready scores is a 480 on the evidence-based reading writing section, and then a 530 on the math. So for a student to be considered college level ready for English-based college courses, they need a 480 on the evidence-based reading and writing section of the SAT. For a student to be considered college level ready for math college courses based on their SAT, they need a 530. For the ACT, the student must score a composite of a 23. For English-based courses, they have to have at least a 19 on the English. And then for math-based courses, they have to have at least a 19 on the math. So no matter what, the overall score has to be a 23. And then the English score would need to be a 19 for English courses. And then the math score would have to be a 19 for the math. If a student does not meet these scores on the SAT or ACT, they are required by Texas law to take the TSIA2. And there are specific standards that the student has to meet on the TSIA2. This also goes for students who are wanting to take dual credit courses. Students want to take dual credit courses have to meet certain testing standards. We do have more options than just the SAT and ACT for dual credit placement. For college placement, it is only the SAT or ACT. And then if they have not met that, then it's the TSIA2. LCISD has this year 3 testing windows. Some campuses had 4 because some campuses tested seniors during the October PSAT when the other students were taking the PSAT. Some campuses tested seniors, but the next 2 TSIA2 dates windows for LCISD is January 30th through February 10th. That is going to be for seniors and potential dual credit students who have not met dual credit eligibility standards. And then we have March 27th through April 14th. That is our final testing window for seniors and then potential dual credit students. So that's the windows. Your campus will test at some point in time during that window. It is not every single day. It may be 2 days within that window. It may be 4 days within that window. It's up to the campus on how they use that window. But between January 30th and February 10th, seniors and potential dual credit students will have the opportunity to take the TSI, and then between March 27th and April 14th, seniors and potential dual credit students will have the chance to take the TSI. Again, like I said, if a student does not meet college level standards on the SAT or ACT, they have to take the TSI. If the student still hasn't met college standards on the TSI, then they would need to take a pre-college math course before they could take college algebra at the college or university they plan to attend, and they would have to take a pre-college English course before they could take the English, the college level English course. So the English test has multiple choice section and then an essay section. And then the math test has just a math multiple choice section. Students are not allowed to bring a calculator into the testing room. The TSIA2 is online. It's an online exam. Students are not allowed to bring a calculator. The system has a calculator built in. It's important to note that the calculator that is built into the test will resemble the TI-84. So our students need to be practicing with the TI-84. As a district, we purchased the TI Inspires for our students, but the TSIA2 uses the TI-84 built into the test. So students do need to familiarize themselves with the TI-84 if they are taking the math section of the TSIA2. The TSIA2 is untimed. Students get as long as they need. Students can change the font style. They can change the font size. They can change the background color. So there are not typically special accommodations offered for TSIA2 because the accommodations are already all built into their to the test because to the system because the student can already change. Any student can access the font size to change the font size. Any student can access the background color and the font color. Every student has as long as they possibly need to take the test. And when I say as long, you can take 3 days to take it if you need to. Anyone has access. The only other option is there is you can request oral testing. That is a special request, and then Braille. We do have Braille, and which is a special request. But that's pretty much it. And the oral testing is the computer reads it to the student, not us. So it has a reader attached to it. To prepare for the TSIA2, your campus has resources to help our students prepare for the TSIA2. TSIA2 is written by College Board through their AccuPlacer system. There are resources on the AccuPlacer website. And then there also students can use their Khan Academy account because College Board writes the SAT and they write the TSIA2. There's nothing wrong with them using their Khan Academy account and using SAT practice to help them prepare for the TSIA2. Students will send their test scores to the colleges. LCISD does not send a student's TSIA2 scores to the college for them. The student sends them. It's always free through their AccuPlacer College Board account. Students receive their scores as soon as they finish the TSIA2. The proctors will go over those scores with students and what they mean and how to read them and things like that. So it's important that the student tries their hardest on the TSIA2, takes their time, reads for understanding, because this test is very important because we do not want a student to have to take that remedial class if they don't need it. If the student does not need the remedial class, we don't want them to have to take it because a remedial class costs the exact same amount of money as a regular college course, but you do not receive credit for that. So at this time, that is the conclusion of our presentation. If you click on where it says Q&A, you should be able to ask questions under the Q&A. So if you would like to ask a question, you should be able to click on where it says Q&A. And I'll stay on for about 3 more minutes to respect your time and my own. I'll stay on for about 3 more minutes to answer questions in our Q&A. If you can't see Q&A, the chat may be working, and you can also ask chats. Yes, the chat is working, so you can ask. If you are an LCISD parent, this is being recorded, so I will be sharing it out to the other CCFs in the district. And then this is the QR code to my YouTube channel. You will be able to, you can scan that QR code to access my YouTube channel. And so I'll also be posting this presentation to the YouTube channel as well, because this is being recorded. Let's see. Can you go over the dates of testing needed to be done in order to be able to do dual credit? So for a student to place into dual credit, we can use a student's English 2 EOC scores. The student has to score a 4,000 on the EOC, English 2 EOC, and then we would be able to place them into English based on their English 2 EOC. We can use their Algebra 1 EOC score with their Algebra 2 grade. So Algebra 1 EOC at a 4,000, and then a C or better in Algebra 2 for math. If they don't have that, then we can use their PSAT scores from sophomore or junior year. PSAT score is a 460 on the evidence-based reading and writing and a 510 on the math. You can reach out to your campus CCF. If you're a Terry parent, we will be having a mandatory dual credit orientation at Terry High School on January 17th at 6:30. Any student from Terry who is interested in taking dual credit will be required to attend at least one dual credit orientation. Our only night dual credit orientation will be January 17th at 6:30. So that'll be the only opportunity our parents have to come. But then there'll be multiple opportunities for students to attend an orientation where we'll go over all of this. It'll be during their ranger time. I think I have like 6 or 7 different dates that the students can pick to come, but they will be required to come to an orientation so that they understand the process. Is it a couple of this? I will be sending, like I said, the video to all of the other CCFs, posting it on the YouTube, and then they'll have the PowerPoint presentation as well. If you're a Terry parent, the PowerPoint presentation from last year is already in Canvas, in the CCMR Canvas course. All I did was change the dates. It's really not anything different. So it's the same one. And if you look closely, you can see the last school district that I worked at, where it was used the same one there too, because the information doesn't change too much. And what it did change, I have updated that information. I've heard that there is an app that students can use when making college applications. So we, in the state of Texas, we use the Apply Texas application for students to submit college application to Texas public schools. Most of our private universities are also in Apply Texas as well, but when a student is applying to a public college in Texas, they should be using the Apply Texas application. Please connect with your CCF at your high school campus if you have questions about the college application process. Because we're focusing on our testing at this time. Where can I find student college board account? That is your student's college board account. You as the parent do not have access to that. That is your student's college board account. Your student should know their username and their password to their college board account. If they do not remember their username and password, when you go to the college board website, the student can click on forgot username and then forgot password. If the student has never created one before, the username is going to be their email address now. They've updated the site. Juniors should take the ACT in February for the first time, and when you take the ACT, students have to register themselves for the ACT. LCISD does not register students for the ACT. All juniors will take the SAT on March 1st, 2023 for free, and we will register. My student is a sophomore. Does he need to test? No. So your sophomore parents are here, so you learn what your student needs to expect junior year. And that's why we asked our sophomore parents to come, because the more you know, the more you grow. So we wanted our sophomore parents to learn early. So if your student is a sophomore, then they will start in February of their junior year. And does a junior have to write? Juniors need to take the SAT and ACT. They're multiple choice tests, so there's nothing to write unless they do the writing section on the ACT. There's nothing to write. It's a multiple choice exam, so they don't write it. They take the test. Does College Board automatically send scores to the colleges the students write down when they register? Yes, scores are automatically sent. So if the student picks the colleges when they register for the test, the scores are automatically sent to the college and university for free. If the student has up to 9 days to log into that SAT or ACTs the same way, into their SAT or ACT account, to add the schools that they want to send their scores to. They have up until 9 days after the test to add them for free. If they had to pay to take the test and they wait those 9 days, then after that, they have to pay to send the scores. I heard about the student rankings. Where can I find information about my rank? If you are a current student and you have a question about your high school class rank, please see your CCF to ask about class rank and how to access that information in your SchoolLinks account. Thank you all so much for attending. This was just a quick hit of information. We wanted to try to get it out there. We wanted to see if this was a better option. So a quick hit of information, bang, here we go, send it all out. So hopefully you got what you were hoping to get. If you have questions, please let us know. Again, I'm Shelby Nielsen. I am the CCF at BF Terry High School. Please reach out to your CCF at your high school campus if you have questions. Our CCFs are wonderful people, have lots of resources and opportunities. Check out all the scholarship opportunities and things like that. And we hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining.